Hello and welcome to the Slingshot channel, Christmas edition 2019. Well, I've been working a lot with repeating bows, as you probably know. These last few months I've been really in a feverish development phase to bring out more and more of these cool things. I first made one for a youth bow, which is a lot of fun and I still love it very dearly. And then I attached it to a 70-pound serious hunting bow. And last but not least, I even made a double version that shoots 2 arrows at once. But today is Christmas, and for Christmas, men like toys. So I made this one, which is the sliding Legolini. I even wood burned the name on it to celebrate the moment. And while of course it is not a serious weapon, it's more like a toy, but it is so much fun because it fits 4 of these arrows. You repeat them like lever action style, and then in order to shoot, all you do is you grab the string, you draw out, you shoot, and then you repeat this until the magazine is empty, and then the string catches. It uses the standard inexpensive bolts for a pistol crossbow, and as you see, it loads just like a lever action. So you slide in the ammo and it clicks into place. Of course, you could make it bigger. 4 shots is just because it looks very sexy this way, I think. Would you not agree? And the beauty is that it's so easy to use because see, this is how it works. So, and of course you can also release it slowly. So if you have it cocked, you can release it very slowly. And as you see, it sits on a rail like so. So this is the rail that it uses. So therefore there's almost no friction, and it's also fairly silent. And again, it's so easy to shoot. A lot of fun. And I also love the repeating noise that it makes. Like I just manually kind of ejected the arrow. And as you see, it's safe to unload. And what I want to try is I want to see if I can replicate what English longbowmen could do, and this is keeping several arrows in flight at the same time. So I'm going to shoot at the barn, where you can usually hear the impact of the arrows fairly well, like tock tock. And then I want to fire 4 arrows and see how many of them will be in flight simultaneously. That should be interesting. Okay. Now, wasn't that fast? Isn't that the fastest bow that you've ever seen? And I'm no Lars Anderson. Even though just a lot of people said Lars Anderson would hate this. It's not a case. When I first introduced my instant Legolas, like 2.5 years ago in the summer of 2017, we had a nice email exchange, and Lars said that he likes it. Of course, Lars doesn't need this. He can do it without, but most people can't. Most people aren't Lars. So while I have a ton of respect for the guy, I think this is for everybody to be able to shoot as fast as he can. Now, while this is a toy, I still don't want to be hit by one of these arrows. But when you use these specially made broadhead hunting arrows for these pistol crossbows, then I think it turns into a serious weapon. And I made room for those. See that here there's room in the magazine for the tips, so it's easy to insert them. So as you see now, 2 of them are in here. And I can shoot them just the same way, but they will have a lot higher penetration. Clearly. They're like small flying daggers. A lot of people always say, well, it now has a trigger, so is it not a crossbow? No, it's not, because this is just a release that is attached to a magazine. So it's actually a bow, a a quiver and a release all in once. Because the difference to a crossbow is that, like if I grab the string and draw it out, on a crossbow it would now lock and store the muscle energy that I invested, which this one doesn't do. If I release it, it would slide forward, so you can't put it down cocked. That's the difference between a bow and a crossbow. So now the obvious question, will you release the blueprints and so on? Well, as always, there are no blueprints. I don't use blueprints. I sketch everything directly to the wood and I develop on the go. So I don't even know how a thing ends up when I start working on it. But of course, there is the guy who made this version for 3D printers, which I think is ingenious because no glue, no screws, no nothing, just rubber and a little bit of string and then 3D printed parts. But this is of course still for the previous version that you have to like caulk manually. Still, it's a lot of fun. Oops. Okay. I think it's a little weaker because he was using inferior rubber, and this can be fixed fairly easily. But on the other hand, the sliding mechanism makes it so much more sexy. So I challenged the guy who made this to also make one for the sliding Legolini. And I think that will be really popular. I have one more cool thing to show you before I call it quits and join the family for the festivities. Which is this one. Yeah, it's actually a slingshot attachment for Jim Wagner knives produced by Böker. Jim Wagner has designed a lot of different knives. I actually even visited one of his fighting knife classes years ago. So this is like a version that is legal to carry in Germany. It's the Outdoorsman. But there are also fighting versions, even automatic versions of these knives. But what I designed a long time ago, like several years ago, is this attachment. Let me see if the camera focuses. And as you see, Böker decided to make it in quantities, and it's really professionally done, like with the pin and the safety here, and then a solid screw that even has a little ring for easier operation, so you can use this to mount it on. And it's a super solid mount, and also it's using tubular rubber, which are held back by little rods in here. And the beauty is that actually the length of the rubber is kind of adjustable, because you can push these out and then you can adjust them and either then hold them back with your fingers or simply tie them off here. So they usually come with really long bands that allow you to go full butterfly like so. And you can shoot all kinds of things with it. Even though the fork is rather small, even a fat paintball like this is easy to shoot. Just put it in the pouch, aim at the barn door, draw out in full and fire, bang. One more time. So again, full power, beep. And of course, you can also fire steel balls, like this nice, like 12mm, almost half-inch steel ball. And bang. And it even is narrow enough to fire arrows, but then of course you want shorter bands. So if I want to shoot an arrow, I simply let the bands dangle out like so. Then I grab them just with my hand, and as you see now, the bands are rather short now. Okay, as you see, not a problem. Bang. They actually made these like years ago, but they never really marketed them because there is a legal issue in Germany where you cannot really kind of use one weapon and disguise it. So therefore, this is not considered a weapon because it's an outdoors version. So this would be legal in Germany, but other knives that are clearly fighting knives, it would not be legal to attach this. So you can still buy both parts, but you cannot combine them into a thing like this. So you cannot really assemble them. So, but we decided to buy the entire stock, which is like 1,000 pieces, and we will soon bring them to market in the new year, together with a knife or separate if you already have a Wagner knife. I love those knives because they're really great. Woohoo! Bing! So, I hope that you like this little Christmas episode with the world's fastest toy arrow shooter. Because, bang, that's it for today. Thanks and bye-bye. Have a Merry Christmas and a great New Year 2020.